There is so much talk in India about the emergence of our country in the years to come, potentially as the third largest economy in the world. And there are very few people who travel quite as much and have as much of an outside-in exposure on what's happening in India relative to what's happening in the rest of the world. And the president of the World Economic Forum, Borge Brende, who's here. Thank you very much, Borge, for joining us at the Business Today India at 100 Summit. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thank you.
No, thank you for inviting me, and great to see you again. I saw you're in great shape in the conversation with Brad Smith. So,
you know, if anybody could have followed that scintillating conversation with Brad Smith, it has to be Borge. So he's a great friend of India, and we're absolutely delighted to have you here with us. Borge, could we start this conversation by you laying out how you see the India story at the World Economic Forum in a global context, given all that's happening in the world at this moment in terms of geopolitics, in terms of economics? Where do you see India relative to how Indians see the India story? How do you at the World Economic Forum, as its presidents, see what's happening in India right now?
So India has come out of the COVID in a much stronger position than many other countries. It is a fact that India is now the fastest growing of the big economies, but it's not once off. It's for the third year in a row that India is the fastest growing economy. So congratulations on that. And congratulations on being successful in landing on the south pole of the moon.
That's very nice. Thank you.
I think,
that's something that all Indians are very proud of.
Yeah, but I think it really shows that India is really, it's a staggering change going on in this country. And I was reflecting on why is this. I think it started in a way also with this digital ID. Maybe it was controversial at the beginning, but you know, to have the largest population in the world, 1.4 billion people, all have a digital ID, is a prerequisite for a lot of other things, and that is digital connect. Most of Indians are now digitally connected. I was just seeing on TV a few weeks ago, it was a grandmother up in Assam sitting there on her cell and wiring money to the grandchildren on her cell. Where is that happening other places in the world, in a developing country that is an emerging economy? And the fact that you have then demographic dividend that will be positive for you probably 30 to 40 years to come, no shrinking of the workforce. And if the workforce is digitally connected and knows how to operate, huge opportunities.
India this year is the president of the G20, and Prime Minister Modi will be hosting the Big Leaders Summit in early September. How do you see India's presidency? PM Modi has just given Business Today an exhaustive interview, his first on the G20, where he sees the G20 emerge as a catalyst for a new global order. And there's a lot of talk about emerging as a leader of the global south, sitting in the north, Norway and in Switzerland. How do you see India's efforts at trying to be a catalyst in establishing a new global order? Borge?
As you know, Rahul, Switzerland is also a neutral country, so Switzerland is dealing with all the different players and actors. But it is true that there is a new order. It's definitely the post-Cold War order is not anymore there. But I think we are between orders. We don't exactly know what the new order is. But there are fundamental economic changes going on, and that we do know. So the economists at the World Economic Forum also definitely are saying that India will become the third largest economy in the world in a couple of years. So you're bypassing Germany and Japan, and it will be then the US, China, the so-called G2. But my prediction, and I coined this for you here today, I think in a decade, we will be faced with a G3.
Wow, that's interesting. Can we have a round of applause, please?
And
This is the first time I'm hearing of G3.
Yeah, the G3 is the US, China, and India. And that is a new reality. So far, India has not really leveraged its strength in the global geopolitics. India has been a little bit shy about that. I think what Prime Minister Modi is showing now is that India will also play a more important role when it comes to shaping the new order. And the new order needs to mean that the global south will have more influence. It will need to also be reflected in the UN, in the Bretton Woods institutions, and the new institutions. So I think India has a lot of influence with the so-called global swing states.
I haven't heard the articulation of this idea of a G3. It's a very powerful idea that you've laid forward. Are you just saying that, Borge, because you're in India and you're catering to this domestic constituency, and as an erstwhile politician, you want to say what they want to hear? Or do you actually believe that in the manner in which this new world order is emerging, in the manner in which a new India is being built, that a G3 is indeed possible? There is a new world order.
So if you coin something in the days of Twitter or X, or if you do it on a TV show, it's not like that it's kept in India anymore. Things do spread very fastly. So I think with using this term G3, I think I have to be able to also argue for it, and in other places. It will probably come up even in Davos. Doesn't mean that G3 is the only dimension. I think the G3 is showing that there are going to be 3 really strong economies. India is already then contributing this year probably to 16% of the global growth. That shows already that the 3 trillion economy that I think will grow into a 10 trillion economy in the coming decade is already having a lot of influence. I think that in addition to the G3, I think Europe still plays an important role, but that is as the EU. It's still the largest market in the world, the single market, but also Africa is growing at an exponential level. The Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is for 1.5 billion people, extremely powerful. And I think with Prime Minister Modi, when he also insisted on inviting the African Union, I think both to the BRICS, but also to the G20, was showing visionary leadership, because Africa and Latin America are growing very fast in addition to ASEAN.